evolution. We are joined today by our guest, who we are so lucky to have, Peter McCormack at What Bitcoin Did, because today is a crazy, crazy day, okay, for everyone, no matter what space you're in, whether it be crypto, the market. If you're in poker, you know you're in crypto too. So things have been going bananas. Let's first, Peter, tell us a little bit, for those who don't know. You're a dad, which I love, but tell us a little bit about yourself and how you found yourself in this crypto world.
So I am a dad. I'm a single dad with two kids who are both in bed now, which is good. So I've got a bit of time.
Look out, ladies! He drops
well,
it.
no, I have a new girlfriend at the moment. So my first exposure to crypto and Bitcoin was back in 2013. I worked in tech, heard about it, sounded interesting. Tried to buy some, and without really knowing what I was doing, I was buying it on a website called Plus 500, which is where you essentially leverage trade. You buy CFDs. I didn't know that. I didn't really understand it, but I was doing it, and somehow I was making a lot of money very quickly. Going to
I'm sorry, what's a CFP really quick?
CFD. Charlie,
like
Frank, David. Yeah. It's binary. So binary. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. And I didn't even know what it was. I assumed I was buying the asset. I really didn't understand it. But I would go to bed, and then I would wake up the next day and find out I made another couple of £1,000, which was really cool. And then I would have a crash where the market would drop quite heavily, and I'd get margin called and I'd lose a bit. But it was up and down. And I also then just started, I was working in advertising, but I kind of started distracting my day by just getting sucked into this because of the money you can make and the excitement. So I started trading tech stocks, and I think very quickly, in the space of about a month, I made around £15,000, which, was more than my income. And then I very quickly lost 30,000 by not knowing what I was doing. So what I did is I shorted Twitter. When Twitter came out, I shorted Twitter, and it went up. So I shorted it again. It went up further. I shorted it again, and before I knew it, I lost quite a bit of money. And what I realized is that even though my decision to short Twitter was proven correct long term, it wasn't proven in the time I was in the market. So, very expensive, painful lesson, kind of licked my lips, exited the market, and thought, I'm not doing this again. And then back Christmas 2016, it's kind of a bit of a sad story, so excuse it, but
get out the tissues.
Yeah, so my mum was dying. My mum had cancer, and we wanted to get her some medication, which you could only buy on certain websites using a certain browser with Bitcoin. And being somebody who had bought Bitcoin in the past, I had bought real Bitcoin since my plus 500 days. Being the only one in the family who knew how to do it, my dad gave me some money. I bought a Bitcoin. I think we used about a quarter of it to buy this medical product. And then what I'd noticed in the background was the Bitcoin was going up again in value. But also at the time of buying it, I bought it from Coinbase. I noticed this other thing called Ethereum, which I'd never heard of and read a bit about. And I was kind of in career limbo as well. I used to run an advertising agency in London, and I made the decision in mid-2015 to exit that. I'd done 7 years. We'd done very well, and then had kind of a tough 6 months and kind of thought I'd had enough. So I took my money and thought I had a year off work. And it was when I noticed this thing, Ethereum, I read about it, and I read about some other assets. So I decided to take a chunk of the money I'd made in advertising and just essentially make a gamble and put it into crypto. And yeah, that was really December 2016, and this crazy roller coaster ride ever since.
Well, I got to say, tip of the hat, as our friend Stephen Carell says, because that's brilliant. And I've never been that smart or that dumb or lucky to let something ride like that. No, but you're purely, here's what I love, Peter. Here's what I love generally about Bitcoin. People are straightforward, honest. And now you're to the point where, you're a year removed from, putting all your money in, chips full on. And you caught the ride. You caught the parabolic move.
Well, I'm really curious. I just made a video this weekend for us about what the first 4 cryptos that I invested in were and why. And so I'm interested, and actually I think it probably wouldn't be that dissimilar in 2016. And it's funny because that's actually how I got into Bitcoin too, was like doing a little shopping on the special sites, which ended up being like the best thing I ever did. Like, don't tell my mom. But I wanted to know, so in 2016, when you're first getting invested, you've got Bitcoin, you're looking at Ethereum. What are the next kind of logical steps for you then in terms of what you put your money into?
Right. So trying to remember is quite hard, but I'm pretty sure the first 4 I bought Bitcoin and Ethereum because they were on Coinbase, and then I think I bought Dash and Monero. Again, look, there was no real pattern to what I was doing. I would say the first 2 to 3 months of my crypto investment was random. I put some money in and it started going up, and then I just started buying everything that sounded interesting. And there was no pattern. There was nothing smart about it at all. But that is a journey chase. So if you ask me what I bought first of all, it would have been the first 4 things I read about. It was only after got to about March time when I started to embed myself. Because I wasn't working, I had a lot of time to think about it and read about it. I also had friends asking me about it. A lot of people saying, look, I've heard you bought some Bitcoin, can you tell me about it? So I ended up writing this email, which was, because I got asked so many times, I put this email together, which was like an introduction to crypto, where, what it is, why it's important, why you need to think about the security. And I used to just forward that to them. And going through that process, I started to learn a lot more about crypto. So what probably is more interesting is, from the early days, what are the things I still hold? Which is probably a better question. I still hold Bitcoin. I wouldn't say I'm a Bitcoin maximalist, but I have a deep respect for it, and I don't think you can divorce Bitcoin from the blockchain. I still hold Monero. It is my second favorite asset. I love the team behind it. I think it has a great community. I still hold Dash. I hold Dash for different reasons. I have things I question about it, but I do like their commercial approach, and I'm a commercial person. And what do I still have? They're probably the 3 from the early days I still have. But I don't hold Ripple anymore, which I had quite early on and made good money on, but I don't hold it. Yeah, exactly. I don't have Augur anymore, which I could do. There's a bunch of things I don't, but I would say from the very early days, my 2 most important are Bitcoin and Monero.
So Matt can probably speak to this also, but today and yesterday, the last few days, I, of course, have told all of my family, same as you, forever, my best friends, everyone, you got to get on this crypto train, like get gold and silver, get a house, but get some crypto. Like, you've got to get some crypto. So, of course, everyone's been calling me the last few days, like, what's happening? And tell me a little bit, as someone who is deeply invested, but is looking to hold on and still sees this as a really viable future, what are you thinking about today? What should we be thinking and telling our friends and family?
Well, let me rephrase Sarah's question a little bit. If I think I read on your blog that you don't consider yourself a technician at all.
Nope.
So there's technical traders, there's fundamental traders, and there's me in between, which I call myself a behavioral trader. What things then are important to you, Peter, when you are evaluating opportunities? Let's just assume thank you for telling us kind of where you are currently. But if you're looking at something, say it's Komodo, which has just gone from, $1 to 15 and back to $3. Okay. Mm-hmm. Those are monster moves. I was told about Komodo back in late November. I knew nothing about it. Absolutely nothing. I just figured that was late November. I said, I'm going to buy some because this thing's going to go up with everything else. I know how markets work technically. And that happened. And I got out at, let's say, 8 from 1, and it went to 15, and now it's back to 3. So what kind of things would one look at if they were interested in evaluating I think there's 1,500 plus coins out there this year. They're expecting 3,000 by year end. 5,000 by next year end. Okay. So the gold rush is over, the top is in, fine. But what things are we looking at now to kind of evaluate?
Okay. So there's a few questions there. I think one, so I am not an experienced trader. I don't have a background in trading. My background's advertising. I am learning trading. I am learning about things that are natural to you that you will know about market liquidity, price action, all those kind of things I'm learning. Because of that, because I'm not an experienced trader, I tend to invest over what I think are long-term positions with crypto. Therefore, just reverting back to the original question, I always say to people, what we're doing now is we're making speculative investments on three things really. One, that cryptocurrencies will become accepted stores of value and medium exchanges, which is something I'm bullish on. I wrote about this the other day. The reason I'm bullish on it is that we need a global currency. We have machine-to-machine payments. We have a global economy. We need a global currency. You will never have a global currency which is owned by a government because no one will trust it. And you'll never have a global currency run by an institution such as the UN because they move too slowly. So actually, by design, a decentralized currency is the only way you can have an international currency. But we need it. It's a natural part of evolution. So I am bullish for that. And therefore, I am invested because of that. But I also am quite clear that this is a speculative bet that the investments and the assets we're in will be successful and will be accepted. The second one is that these decentralized protocols and apps will be used widely. And the third is the tokenization of specific assets. So this is the speculative bet we're making on. Therefore, what I'm doing is I always say to my friends, look, rule number one, which every trader will say to you, do not invest anything more than you can afford to lose. Okay, so that's the first point. Everyone says that because of days like today where it can go mad. And it's not so much because you could lose everything. It's more because if you invest more than you can afford to lose, you're going to panic and get emotional and make poor decisions. And you're going to play into the hands of people who want you to be scared. The second is go long. Three, yeah, exactly. People, there's always somebody on the other side of the trade, right?
You want to sell? Come on, I'll buy from you. You want to buy? I'll sell. Yeah.
The other thing is invest 3 to 5 years. If you're going to buy Bitcoin, don't buy Bitcoin today and get too excited if it goes up because it will come back down. Just look at the history of Bitcoin pricing. It's gone up, parabolic moves, and it's retraced. You're going to be investing 3 to 5 years with this. And the third thing is try and ignore the volatility. Add to that, I also say to people, don't try and be a trader. You know, trading is hard. You know that. Trading is hard. Imagine trying to trade while you've got a full-time job and you've got kids at home and a wife who wants you committed. Most people shouldn't be traders. Most people should just invest and ignore it. So they're the first things I say. So when I get my texts today or phone calls from my brother saying, well, what's going to happen? I'm just saying, it's the same as I've told you before. I don't know what's going to happen with the price. I've got no idea. I don't know where it's going to bottom out. I don't know if it's going to be it's going to be rebound in the next week. I don't know if we're going to enter a 1 year bear market. I can't predict. If I did, then I would be very rich. Therefore, just stick to the rules. Just don't invest more than you can afford to lose, and ride out the time. So yeah, I think that answers the questions.
I think that's solid advice. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm in terms of then the things I'm looking for. Look, most of this market doesn't have much liquidity. So if you look at Bitcoin has the most liquidity, and it's still not particularly high, probably compared to things you're trading, commodities and such. No. Therefore, the price moves quite fast and it's volatile, and there's loads of different influencing factors. There are whales, there are market makers, there are people moving all over the place. Bitcoin's kind of okay. You look at all the other assets, they're even more volatile. And actually, the Wall Street cheat sheet pretty much plays out time and time again. I'm not saying you have to use it as the Bible. All I would be saying is if you invest in an asset, make sure it's before a parabolic move. If it makes a parabolic move, take some money off the table. Absolutely. So in terms of what I'm using, I use a combination of technical and fundamental. I use basic technical analysis for entries and exits. and I use basic technical things like horizontal support. I love horizontal support. I use support and resistance in trend. I will look at fib retracements, but that's about it. I'm more finding an entry and finding an exit and just selling back. In terms of fundamentals, they're important to me, but they become important depending on the asset. So Bitcoin fundamentals are important because it's the daddy of all crypto. When I'm looking at a smaller asset with a market cap of maybe 100 million, which is quite small, the fundamentals come into play for me when the technicals start to show that the price is moving, and then the fundamentals can drive the price further forward. Make sense?
Totally.
Yeah, of course.
You're getting there. I like it. Smart.
Learning on the job, though.
So for those of our listeners and viewers that are a little bit more new to this game, my husband, for example, started just trading about a year ago and has only been in crypto really for a few months. But similarly, he's had to sort of pick up a lot of these ideas. And especially for you in the beginning, what are some, I guess, tools or places that you started in order to get some of these, what we're calling fundamentals? Where did you turn?
Well, a few places. Like the best learning is on the job. Just getting out there, trading, buying, selling, and you'll make a bunch of mistakes at the start. You know, you will believe in an asset way more than you probably should. You know, you'll hold on to something when the price action is over and it's starting to retrace. You'll make those mistakes. You'll chase something. You'll go onto Reddit and you'll believe a story. And you'll only learn from this once you've made a few mistakes. And if every mistake being made, like the biggest one recently, right? Bitcoin went in a trend in 2017 in a channel for the whole of the year. It kind of bumped across a resistance point and dropped back down to a support point. At the end of November, it broke out the channel and made a parabolic move up to 20K. You looked at the RSI, it was way overbought. Yet everybody on Twitter was saying, this is going to go to 100K. This is going to change the world. So we all sat there and held. Prices crashed down. I didn't take money off the table. Quite a few of the people I respect most in the space didn't take money off the table because we all drank the Kool-Aid, right? So the only way you're going to learn is by in there trading and making mistakes, which I've done. So that's the first thing. Secondly, there is so much free advice out there. You can go on Twitter. On my Twitter, I've got a couple of lists. I've got a decent crypto traders. I've got an elite crypto traders. I've got a macro crypto thinkers, which are all different pools of people which I respect and follow, which help give me good sentiment analysis. So I can get sentiment on assets that are good for trading, but I can also get a wider picture sentiment analysis of what's happening in the industry. There's so much free advice out there. And then a lot of these people provide free courses. There's stuff on YouTube. There is so much stuff out there. I would just recommend trading, going out to Twitter, following a few people, get on Reddit, but also go to places like, there's good lessons within Forex. So the Baby Pips website has got some really good lessons in Forex trading. And just soak up as much as you can.
What do you guys both say to me? This is a question for both of you. So I've already invested in 2017, my certain amount that I invest in something kind of every year. It's already gone. But now that crypto's so cheap right now, I would really like to overextend myself just a little bit. Not that I can't afford it, not that I don't have that money, but more that it's a little bit outside of what I would consider my traditional comfort. But I really don't want to miss this time where it's so cheap. What would you guys say to me?
Ooh, well, wait till we find support.
Yeah, I would say take a deep breath. Don't rush. Come back in a month. Come back in 2 months. It's not going to get it. It's not going to. Let's put it this way: markets don't go from 20,000 to 6,000. In other words, 2/3 value gone, and then back to 20,000 in a month. Give it some time. There's no hurry. Especially for the long-term person. Peter has the right advice, which is go learn. Now's the time to hunker down and understand about market participation, right? There are fundamental traders. There are technical traders. There are very few behavioral traders. Yet
Yeah, and I
those,
have FOMO right now, big time.
and you have FOMO,
That's my behavior.
and like I tell my 14-year-old freshman in high school, you're not going to, these friends that you think are so important today, and of course, hearing this from a parent doesn't help, but they're not going to be around in your life in 7 years, 9 years, 11 years. It's just going to go, it's going to look like the chart of Bitcoin. They're just not going to be around.
Me Bitcoin is not my real friend.
Today, there's no hurry. Today, there's no hurry. You have time. And if you've owned it as Peter has and you have for multiple years, who cares? Now, if you're just coming into it, let's assume the person's just coming into it. Even more of a reason to pause.
Buy it all right now.
Pause. This is not, again, Peter's spot on. This is a long-term game unless you're going to learn how to trade. If you want to try to come in and trade against me, you're going to get fleeced all day. Because you're going to do I can tell you most of my trading is behaviorally based upon how I know people will react. I've seen this over and over and over and over and over again. And
okay,
it doesn't.
So Peter, tell me you didn't buy some today.
Didn't buy anything today.
What? What is this world I'm living in?
There's like there's a classic
Sarah, pull back your chart beyond a month. Beyond a month. If you go back, if I just look at a 1-year chart, 1 year, which is not long term, we could look at and take away the logarithmic balance that the chart has, because I use logs because you have to, otherwise Bitcoin would look crazy. I wouldn't buy today. I wouldn't buy today until we got down to about 4,200.
I mean, I'm not waiting for a price to buy. I'm waiting for support. I mean, I don't know where support will come. That's the problem. Every support line has dropped. I mean, you're saying buy today. Some people bought it like 6,700 and then it shot back up to 7,400 and now it's back to 6,900. The problem is all we've got is pretty much day after day of red candles. So there's no point buying at the moment. You need to wait for support. What's happening is every time we get a bounce, there are people taking out long positions and then getting trapped. And you could be the same. We just got to wait for support. And support might be a week, a month. It could be 2 months. What's most likely to happen is it will smooth out. So we'll have a period of accumulation and a bit of calm, but that could start at 6,500. That could start at 6,200. That could start at 5,800. That could start at 4,000. I mean, I don't know until I see the support levels, but there's nothing there. Yeah, there you go. Look at that chart. There's nothing there that says buy right now.
See that, Sarah? I'm not making it up. See 4,200?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. If I told you nothing else about this chart, where would you buy?
Maybe at that bottom line.
See that red line?
4,200.
Yep. I'm not making it up. It's not my number.
But I thought
the market's number.
500 last week, and I bought.
I did. That was here, and it went from 85 to 10.4. That's it. I took the trade over. Next level here.
Matt, why do you like 4,200?
Because you see all these interested parties here. So what my chart is showing everybody right now is that
that's the order.
No, this is only the past. It only shows where people have bought. Think about it this way. This is my great analogy for people like Sarah who are in the poker game.
Oh, I see.
And I can't stand playing poker. It bores me because I can't gamble. I don't believe in gambling. I believe in edges. And the problem with poker is the people at the table are gamblers and they do stupid things and they win. I can't win against that. I just can't.
Yeah, but that could happen also in sometimes
Correct.
I might win in this, but on any given Sunday you're going to win, right? Like if it goes
Correct.
for a certain amount of
time. So here's the deal. But I will watch the poker championships, on ESPN.
World Series.
I will watch Hold'em World Series all day when I'm up late at night watching the market to get my price because I can see everybody's cards. Now I can play. What if I told you there was a way for you as a participant in any market that had liquidity and transparency to see where the cards are? What I'm showing you right now is an absolute legal way of showing where people bought and sold. The area that people most bought and sold in Bitcoin in the last 6 months is 4,200. All right. That's all this tells me. Nothing more. So if you think about it this way,
doesn't it look like a lot of people are jumping in now? You told me before, no, it doesn't look like that. But isn't that a big old candlestick? Or
forget about candlesticks. Just focus on this right side right here.
Yeah.
The histogram. This histogram tells me that where the most buying and selling took place in the last 1 year of trading is between 3,100 and 4,800. Period.
So that's the closest to what people perceive it to be as its actual value.
Value. Boom. And I'm wrong if it goes under 3,100, because below that, then we go back a year. Then we go back a year and go, okay, beyond a year, or beyond 6 months, how does Bitcoin look? And it will look different. So you change the time frame, you change the scope, Sarah, and guess what? The longer term money is always, 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 regardless of the market, the smarter money. To Peter's point, traders will trip over themselves with FOMO, shoot themselves in the head every day because they have no strategy. They have no sense of value with fundamentals or technicals. They're lost. So what happens is they buy because it feels oversold. It feels overbought. But
Ship it to mama.
Nothing.
But you know what, Matt, the thing is, right, I get everything you're saying, but we all have a different kind of risk profile. And, the more information you have, the less money you're going to make. So the markets where you have less information is a bit more crazy. You can make more, but you can lose more. And some of us want a bit more risk and a bit more fun. And also, we're kind of part of something which is just really, really exciting. So
I agree. That's the most exciting thing about it, what you said about, the potential ramifications it has and implications it has and all kinds of other things about our future. But I'm really curious, Peter, how you, in terms of coming from a regular day-to-day job, in advertising, how do you structure what your day looks like now? How do you build a day around being a crypto guy?
Well, because I do so many things. So, I have my own podcast, which I've done 4 episodes of now. I've got another one that needs to go out. I've got my blog. I do my trading. I trade for a fund out in the US, the Science Guys in Santa Monica. I have to do school runs. I have to make breakfast and dinner. And so it's quite a crazy day, but it tends to start usually around 6 o'clock. I try and get up before the kids and just try and have a look at what the market's saying, just more out of interest. Breakfast, school run, and then when I get back, the first thing I do is I update all my numbers on every asset I have, but I update it in dollar price and Bitcoin price. And I trade crypto and Bitcoin price, something that took a while to get my head around, but it's something I do now. And I update that just to give me a picture of what each of my assets are doing, which has been quite depressing this last couple of weeks. And then once I'm done it, I will go out onto, I'll keep notes on assets and their price moves. I'll then go out on to do my research phase, which I'll have a look at which assets people are talking about, what things are potential, what ICOs are coming up. And I tend to just keep a whole bunch of notes. And then if I'm looking to make any trades, I will then go and execute my trades based on whether I think there's a good entry and I believe in the TA and the FA and all the factors that are relevant to me. At the moment, I'm not trading. There's no point trading because everything's tied to Bitcoin. So everything's falling. So I'm not trading now. But that's most of my morning. And in the afternoon, I tend to focus on content and community management. I have a Facebook group. I have a Telegram channel. I have a Discord group, which are all free. And I provide all free advice, but they take up a lot of time. I would like to say it's that organized. Sometimes things flip around. Sometimes I'm doing content. Sometimes I'm doing trading. But I'm also quite lucky in that I've got my best friend working with me now, which is cool. So he's working with me. We've just taken out an office with a trading desk, which we will be in on Thursday, which is loads of fun. One of my old school friends is now helping me with content. So I've been able to bring a few of my friends into this folder together as well. So yeah,
cool.
It's all over.
So time consuming, am I right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just the content stuff is so time consuming.
Yeah, the content is, the trading isn't. I tend to make less than 10 trades a month, and I don't tend to be glued to the market because, Matt will know this. Sometimes if you look at the markets too much, you feel obliged to make a trade when there's no need. So I tend to keep away from the trading as much as possible. And, at one point I was up 65x in the year, right? It's just amazing numbers, right?
That's
And
great. Yeah. Boggling.
and yeah, well, not now. I'm back down to like under 40x. But
Oh, that's terrible.
but what I think, the reason I think that happened is because I'm not trading that much. I think some of it is just by luck and chance, in that I don't feel obliged to trade. I'm not looking at technical positions and coming out. I'm actually holding long, which has helped me become a better trader in some ways. It's one of the lessons I've learned. Don't even remember where I was going. Oh, and the other thing I'm doing, sorry, I even forgot. I've now got a mining rig out in Washington State, which also takes up some of my time. So I divested some of my profits into a mining rig over in Washington State. Where are you guys based?
I'm in Oregon, right below Washington State,
There you
and Sarah's in Nevada. So.
The city of sin.
Are you actually in Vegas?
I am in Las Vegas.
Amazing.
Yes, indeed. Now, what are you interested in, I guess, right now then? So you're not trading a ton, and that is what it is, but what are some of the coins and things, not just that you started with that you're keeping, but that you think show potential right now?
So I invested in 2 ICOs recently, Legolas, which is an exchange, and DADI. DADI had they had a few problems in that they got found out for some plagiarism in a white paper, which didn't go down well in the community, but they wrote a medium response, which I liked, which actually identified it was a very small part of the white paper. And also, look, I worked in advertising. There are times where I've done reports and strategy documents where we've taken bits from other places. It happens, it's not the end of the world. Also, their ICO didn't run perfectly. Some people couldn't get their transactions through, and I got a follow-up saying they were going to refund my gas from my Ethereum transaction and also allow me to get back in. So I thought, fair play. You might be making mistakes, but so I got in on that. Outside of the ICOs, I'm interested in Ethereum Classic at the moment. I think on the charts, it looks like a great investment. I think anything Barry, people call him Barry Silbert, but Barry Silbert is involved in, I think is a great project. I'm really into EOS. Again, I like anything Brock Pierce is involved in, and I think if EOS can deliver technically what they're saying, it could become a challenge to Ethereum. I kind of fell out of love with Ethereum, but I'm kind of falling back in love with it in certain ways. I think less so the technology and the scaling issues, but what it's brought to the market in terms of ICOs and a way of raising capital, I just think is a really interesting thing. The tokenization of the market. I don't think we can I don't think we can ignore what it's done for the whole market. I do like Komodo, like Matt brought up. I think they're doing some interesting things. And then on the smaller project level, I really like POSW. I think that's a really interesting project. And I also am interested in pretty much any privacy coin.
What's POSW?
It's proof of stake work. Let me get the actual name up because I'll get it wrong. And this was a tip to me. POSW. There we go. So it's proof of stake wallet, and it's trustless. I think it's trustless proof of stake. So this was a tip to me by a guy who was on my podcast, a guy called Day Trader Nick, as a potential good setup. And then one of the guys in my Facebook group, a guy called Casper, has now set up a node. So if you ask me on the technical, as I said to you before, I don't understand always the technical of these projects. I refer to more technical people. But there's apparently something quite interesting with their master nodes, and I'm looking to set up a couple of those as well.
Peter, let me ask you a couple of questions. For the people, I've got Coinbase, I've got Binance, I've got a number of accounts. Mm-hmm. There's an opportunity, obviously, for arbitrage, but it's very difficult. So, if somebody were new to this and wanted, where's a great place where you can trade 80% of the top 100 coins?
So the arbitrage thing comes up. I've never done it for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it just sounds boring. It sounds like something you have to just sit and watch and analyze to scalp small percentages here and there. And that's not the kind of life I want to live, right? I want to make a few trades and then get out and do interesting things or make some content. Also, the other thing with arbitrage is it has a risk associated in that you have to transfer from exchange to exchange in time and
Right.
etc. So I'm not saying it can't be done. It just isn't for me.
Okay.
In terms of exchanges, there's different ones, horses for courses, right? Bittrex has a lot of assets on it, but has scaling issues because there's so many people trying to use it. Cryptopia is a great exchange for microcap assets. Binance is a fast-growing exchange that people like a lot, which is regularly adding new coins to it. The thing to do is, rather than go via, you've got to find the exchanges you like, but actually you've got to find the investments you want. I don't like the website CoinMarketCap, but if you go on there and you click on an asset, you can see the markets it's traded on. So what will likely happen is you'll end up probably, if you become a trader, having accounts on multiple exchanges.
And accidentally.
And then what about, and then you mentioned before you're watching ICOs. Again, let's say we're going to double this year from 1,500 coins to 3,000. Is there a place, I'm unaware and I haven't looked, it may be simple, but is there a place that lists coming ICOs, kind of like, you know,
Yes.
US markets, you know, British markets, they all have IPOs listed, obviously, but is there a place where people can find those? Because that's great
I'll give you
research.
the link. Let me just get you the link of the one I use.
Thank you.
There's a really good one as well. Here we go. Yes, ICOalert.com. That has them all, and it has them listed by date. And there's another one. I think it's ICO watch list. But if you go, if you Google, Token Market's got it as well. Yeah, if you Google like upcoming ICOs, you've got different ones. Some will rate them in terms of the demand. You've got to be careful with ICOs though. Some are scams. I put 25,000 into one called Confido last year, which crashed, and I lost the whole money because they did an exit scam, or did they, or didn't? Who knows? But the money went. ICOs are a mixed bag. You get in the right one, you can make a lot of money, but it is a saturated market, so you could end up investing in things which actually you don't make money on. So one of the things to keep an eye on is some of the ICOs offer a discount, right? So if they want to raise 10 million, they might go to some Wall Street buddies and say, look, if you put 2 million in, we'll give you a 50% discount, essentially double the coins. The day that hits the exchange, they're selling off to make their money, crashing the market. It's not good.
No.
It's really good. So ICOs are tough. I usually don't invest in that many. And you just have to be careful. You've got to look at the project, who's involved, what the coin distribution is, and various other things. There's a guy on Twitter called Ian Bellina, I think it is. His Twitter handle is Diary of a Made Man. He's made a fortune on ICOs. He shares out what he thinks are his superstar ICOs. I think he got his, and he shares on Instagram. He shares his portfolio value. He got up to like 5 million at some point this year.
I need to write this down.
Yeah, he's smashing it in ICOs.
So, Peter, thank you for telling our listeners that you have put risked money of $25,000 in and watched it go to zero, because that's the true reality of these things. And I appreciate you being honest about that. I've never bought an ICO. I know nothing about ICOs. It's hard enough for me trying to figure out, as a 28-year pro, trying to figure out where to trade Komodo. So, and that's a micro cap, but it's not micro cap. So it's kind of the way that I explain it to people is, hey, Coinbase is safe in the sense that it's the biggest, at least in the US today. GDEX, it's pretty, it's got, multi-factor authentication, all the things that you're looking for. You're going to pay taxes on it just as if you were trading anything. So it's straightforward. The other indices, do your homework. This is the point that Peter made earlier. Go in and find out what it is that you want to invest in, see where you can trade it, see if that exchange makes sense for you, and make that decision. Don't blame anybody else, people. This stuff is it's definitely Wild West. There's no doubt in my mind. Sarah and I talked to a guest last week who's working on kind of that exchange problem. She's going through the SEC, and they're trying to get a real exchange where you can trade everything in theory, but which would be great, you know, and you'd eliminate these arbitrage, because they're false arbitrage opportunities. And let's just have a clean, transparent market for as many of these, and let's have macro, micro, medium cap. Let's rank them all. And that is, I think that is what is great about, I think, this idea and the whole blockchain, Ethereum, the software side of it is, listen, we all want the same things. So let's try to, you know, bring this to, you know, fruition faster and quicker and more efficiently. So,
and do you not think the Crypto thing was frustrating, right? It's a lot of money, but the reality was, you know, one of my trading rules is never to put more than 3% into a new investment. You know, it's like it's a 1, 2, or 3%. 3% if I think it's a really good project. 2% medium. 1 is a bit of a punt. But as frustrating as it is, losing 2 or 3% of your entire portfolio, if you're trading stocks or commodities, might be quite a scary thing, because that's a lot to make up. But when you're trading in assets that go up 10, 15, 20% a day,
right,
you can kind of swallow it, as obnoxious as that sounds. You know, don't get me wrong, I was off, but
no, I mean, I think you're exactly right. Yeah.
So I want to wrap it up by, this is something that we did talk about with one of our other guests also, all of these channels for information that people are sharing together, and that this sort of community of crypto, people who are invested in crypto are also it seems like they're invested in community, which is super cool. So if you can share with our homies who want to find you on your Facebook community, also your Telegram, your Discord, whatever you have available that's public, if other people wanted to participate, where they could find you.
Cool. Well, look, everything is What Bitcoin Did. My Twitter is at What Bitcoin Did. My Instagram is at What Bitcoin Did. If you go onto Facebook, it's let me just have a look, because I've got it open here. It's /groups /What Bitcoin Did. You have to apply and be accepted. Discord, you will have to find your way via the group. I've got the website, whatbitcoindid.com. If you want to listen to the podcast, it's on iTunes. Everything's What Bitcoin Did. If you search for What Bitcoin Did, you won't help but find me. All my advice is free, you know, for as long as I can do it without, you know, getting too busy. Most people, if they write to me, email me, DM me, I will get in touch. I always say, look, I am not an experienced trader. I will share my knowledge and my experience, but there are more experienced people out there. I'm really just sharing my journey.
I love it. That's what I'm all about. That's what I'm all about. Cool.
Hey, Peter, thank you.
No worries. Anytime. Thank you for having me on. Lovely to meet you guys. You take care.
Thanks. Appreciate your time. Bye-bye.